Hi, I'm Alane Freund, and the most important job I have in the world is helping sensitive youth have great childhood and great adolescence. And that means I spend a lot of time talking to parents who are raising these sensitive kids. I recently got an email from a family who's really worried about the upcoming time change of falling back, moving our clocks back. And the reason is their 2-year-old wakes up way too early. So right now they're getting up around 5 a.m. every morning, which is too early for this family. And when we turn our clocks back, that'll be 4 a.m. if they're still getting up that early. So I have a few hacks because this is not the first time I've heard about this. And I had a young child who definitely woke up way earlier than me. One thing I have to say is the research is clear. Sensitive brains, they're more reactive brains. They think more, they notice more, and they feel more, and they rest less. So even at night or when you're meditating, your brain is still going. And it's true for the kids too. So one of the reasons that they might be awake more is they wake up. Well, heck, this happens to me. You wake up in the middle of the night, maybe the wee hours of the morning, and your brain starts going. Well, it's heck hard to go back to sleep. Now, as an adult, I can make a conscious choice. Do I just lay there in bed and try to go back to sleep, or do I get up and get going at 4 a.m.? Eek, not what I want to do. As a child, you're dependent on your parents. What wakes them up? Maybe their brain's working. So maybe they need to be told some things that they can do. But the family rule is that you stay in bed until a certain time, or it still stays lights out, or we keep our eyes closed. So, what might be a good hack for a 2-year-old? To put some plaything in their bed with them that they sleep with, and to show them how to create, say, a fort out of play silks while staying in their bed. Another idea might be to turn their bed into a bit of a tent or a canopy or a fairy bower or whatever that is, so that they can just start imagining things in their bed and also not come into your bed. Now, if they're co-sleepers, then you have to train them to, that means if they sleep in bed with the parents, they have to be trained to leave the room if they're not going to lay quietly, because mommy's bed, daddy's bed is where we sleep. Okay. A lot of times, young children wake up because they're hungry. If you have a child who has a more active metabolism, they may very well be waking up literally because they need calories. One of the things I did for this was I kept a banana with the stem creased so it was easy for the child to open on the windowsill next to my child's crib or bed, and told him anytime he woke up and he was hungry, he was welcome to eat the banana. Sometimes when it's cooler, where I live, the nights can be quite cool, and we don't run central heating in our homes here because it's not that cold. So I was able to put out a bottle of milk and or a sippy cup if they're older. Finally, by the time my child was 3, I had taught him to get up. I prepped a simple breakfast, and I'll just tell you exactly what it was. It was Erewhon, I don't even know if you can find that brand, Rice Krispies. And all it is puffed rice cereal, no sugar, no preservatives, organic rice, and a little jar of milk. The bowl and the spoon with the cereal in it, and a plate sitting over the bowl to keep the cereal fresh overnight were sitting on the table. The milk was on his shelf in the fridge. And so he fed himself breakfast every morning while I stayed in bed. The other thing that you can do that I taught him to do was to call a family member who was up. So if you're fortunate enough to have someone, luckily for me, my mom's an early riser and she's in a later time zone than where I live. So my mom babysat my son, even though we live a 4-hour flight away from each other. She babysat my son every morning for a period of time, and she had a great relationship with her grandson who lived far away. They talked on the phone. I taught him how to call her. We had a landline for the purpose, and it was easier back then because we're talking 2003, 2004, but you can still have a landline. And, or maybe you're the person that is an early riser and is up that can entertain your child is just a walkie-talkie talk away. How fun would that be? The other thing that you can do is you can teach your child how to use a CD player or some other kind of MP3 player to play Dial a Story, or to use your landline to call Dial a Story. It's really great for children to know how to use phones, how to call 911, for example, or how to memorize the phone number of a grandparent or an emergency adult contact and be able to use a phone to do it. So my county, Marin County, Marin County in California, has Dial a Story through the county library system. There are lots of them all over the world, though. So you can teach your child to play recorded stories for them. So there's banjo. Maybe you can let the dogs sleep in their room and entertain them in the morning. So the last thing I want to say about this is when we change our clocks is a great time to manipulate young children, because it's your chance to change how they view time and what bedtime is and what wake up time is. So let's recap. Food, calories, if their blood sugar's low, that might wake them up and they need support. If they can eat something, they might be able to manage their own entertainment. Give them some way to entertain themselves. Give them a human to make contact with. Teach them how to do tasks around the house that they can do by themselves. Leave something out for them to sort, for example. Make their bed a wonderful place to be and teach them how to entertain themselves a little bit in the bed. And finally, have rules. Be strict. Sensitive, all youth. What's good for sensitive youth is good for all youth. Sensitive youth especially need clear routines and rhythms and structures. So, for example, mommy and daddy or mommy or daddy's bed is for sleeping. We're not playing here, and when I'm in here, I'm sleeping. If it's not an emergency, leave me alone. Okay, next video will be for sensitive youth who are older and changing the clocks and how to work with that and prepare for that. You have, right now as I'm recording this, you have about, I'm going to say 12 days in the US. So get moving on it and start making these adjustments before you change the clocks. Bye now.